browser off, logging into your Chrome. If you don't have a Chromebook yet, they're on their way, but you can review the foreword and think of 3 main points that Toni Morrison made in her foreword. Great focus right side here, Maya, great. You can go up and read it in first so that you can log in so it just reads the level. Attendance is in, make sure your homework's on your desk. Great. Great focus. Let's take 3 more minutes. Thanks, Tosh. Great. Great. Show me with fingers how many more minutes you need. Okay, let's take 1 more minute. Good. I see people going back to the Goldstein forward if you want to get more context or a reminder from last night's reading. Jilla, please stop. see a lot of people still writing, so I'm going to give you another minute. Okay, so try to wrap up. Let's push yourself to the last question. Now you actually have one more minute. $45 more seconds. $30 more seconds. If you didn't get to any of the questions, just write NET for not enough time. Let's all close our Chromes in 15. Jasmine's ready. Close. You don't have to log out. No, we'll be back on. Let's close in 10, 9, 8. Finish what you're typing. 7. Should we try to close your timer break? You see that? 6. 5, 4, close Chromes in 3, stretch the little piano, 2, 1, Chris, finish up what you're typing and track up here. Alright, so we're very accurate, we're very on point with the definition of internalize, which is to take something to heart. I want to share a few sentences that we made with the word internalize and just give public feedback so we can see the meaning. Sit up. Put your knees into the desk. Okay. Many people internalized when they thought Christianity was the most renowned religion of all time. You might internalize the practice or values of Christianity, but you don't internalize like a fact that Christianity was the most renowned religion of all time. So just make it clear that you're internalizing values or you're internalizing a role of something. Another one, I've internalized the pain that I have gotten from my dog's death. You're again not internalizing pain. You internalize a value or a personality or an opinion. Let's look at one that makes a little more sense. He internalized his breakup by crying and eating ice cream. Okay, so if his breakup made him feel worthless or like made him feel ugly or upset, he might internalize that and have a different view of himself because of that breakup, so that one makes more sense. He internalized the hateful words and as a consequence became very insecure. This is perfect. Because of hateful words, he started to think differently about himself because he internalized those words. Great. All right, we're going to come back to the forward, so I'm going to skip that. I just want to hear 3 people talk about what we learned yesterday about Dick and Jane. What is it? What does it mean? What does it represent? Byron, start us off. Everyone turn around.
What's in Dick and Jane book to help? Dick and Jane book, the book was to help like little young kids like to learn to read, and like they also said it wasn't always meant to just like for them to learn to read, but like to like learn like I don't know like ideas I guess.
Good.
Or like imagination or something like that.
Great. What else? What does it represent? What else did we take away from Dick and Jane? Josh.
They like taught kids lessons about things that kids learn at that age. But then like in the books themselves, they didn't really have like a lot of variety as far as like people go. Like it was all just like cookie cutter like people, like supposed to be like the perfect family in the 1960s.
Exactly. I'm gonna add on one more comment.
And like with that, like that may have caused colored and non-colored people to see racism in a different way. And they thought that was supposed to be the specific like color that everyone should.
So I'm going to share one paragraph that was written yesterday about the representation of Dick and Jane that I think summarizes really well our takeaways from it. So it says, Dick and Jane was a popular children's book that ran from the 1930s to 1970s. This book made young children's opinions form before they could even decide what's right and wrong. These books taught children that a typical or normal family is a family in which all of its members are white and physically attractive. Byron Track. In most of these books, there are no people of color. If there are any, there are very few, and they're in the back of the book. Many young people growing up reading these books are the same people who are racist today. These books have formed their bias towards race. So this person not only gives us a little background about Dick and Jane, but talks about the fact that they mostly include white people who are physically attractive, and then he gives us a so what of how this could affect people today. Any comments? Yeah, Leah.
How do we know, most of people that those books are racist today?
He doesn't. He's sort of making an inference. I think he suggests that if you grow up on these books, and I wish he'd use this word, but you might grow up and have sort of racist values or racist tendencies because of never being exposed to people of color in this context. Does that make sense? So this might be a little bit strong. You're right. He doesn't know that they grew up to be racist, but he might imply or infer that they could grow up that way, because of those values. Do you understand, Julia?
It's kind of like the video we watched in College Readiness, for Dark Girls. There was this part that who owned I think it was a dance store. And he said I think one of his relatives worked there. Huh?
Grandma.
Oh yeah, his grandma worked there, and that his grandma only hired light skinned people because light skinned people usually rob the store. So then he does that too.
Great connection. You're spot on. So I want to move to our homework from last night. I just want to give a general overview of the Bluest Eye before we sort of jump in. The material in the Bluest Eye is really mature content. So it's a book that talks about things that we wouldn't typically talk about and that we don't even feel very comfortable usually talking about. So there's instances of rape and racism and sickness and just overall anxiety and sort of inferiority. But I feel fully confident that you guys can handle this. I know that this is a book that we can take on at this point. So just have that in mind. It's really sensitive. Jeremiah up here. It's just really sensitive, so when we come in, we just have to be aware of that. So the first question, what does Toni Morrison explain is a stress that is a part of life as every human? Marito, loud voice.
Being hated.
So is this true? Does every person experience hatred?
Yeah. That's just
Why?
everybody. Yes.
How so? Yes or no? Emma?
And sometimes even if they didn't get hate from other people, they might have hate towards themselves. So I feel that everyone at some point either feels hate towards themselves or someone else shows hateful words or whatever actions.
Sometimes when people say that they don't feel hate towards themselves from themselves or other people, they're just not aware of it because there's always going to be just one or two people that just really don't like them.
So is there anyone in the world that doesn't experience hatred? Are there people that never feel hate or who never have that stress?
Babies.
No.
Okay.
So you have a child who's born before the baby and already is strong with him, where it's like Rugrats. When they had the baby, Thomas got jealous because Dill had more attention than he did.
Okay.
And he tried to see the baby at the hospital.
But the baby won't stress over it because he's not going to care.
So I want to pause. Keep that in your mind. We're going to come back to it. So this next sentence, listen carefully. When I began writing The Bluest Eye, I was interested in something else. So this is Toni Morrison speaking. Not resistance to the contempt of others or ways to deflect it, but the far more tragic and disabling consequences of accepting rejection as legitimate, as self-evident. So I'm going to translate the first part of that sentence, and then I want you to explain what she means in this second half. So I think she's saying she's not interested in the people who can sort of deal with or resist, so sort of like push off or deflect hatred towards themselves. So like if someone is insulting you or teasing you, there are certain people who say back, Byron, they might say like, I don't really care what you think. Or your insults don't really bother me. There are some people who sort of have that strength who can like deal with hatred like that. So she's saying, I'm not actually interested in those people who have that resistance. What is she interested in? But the far more tragic and disabling consequences of accepting rejection as legitimate as self-evident. Bianca, loud voice. Wait.
She's more interested in the people who actually like feel the actual hurt and the hate and the pain, and it becomes a part of them, like this sort of like rejection.
She like focuses on the people that submit to, you know, like what other people say, whether or not it's true.
Exactly. So they accept it as self-evident. And what does self-evident mean, Emma?
They can't control it. Like it's something that's gonna happen no matter what.
Yeah, like it's just, it is a part of, their lives. It's there. It's undeniable. So what help it happens to some people who experience this self-loathing or this self-hatred? What does Toni Morrison explain can happen to people in this case? And you can look back in your book. Kiana.
They start to know themselves and like they like want to be different.
Okay, so they start to not like themselves. What else? Leah, what else happens to people who accept the hatred?
Like, did she say they start to hate themselves? They just start to like, I think it was saying, I know the page, because I read this one, but it was saying that others surrender their identity melt into a structure that delivers the strong persona they lack.
So I actually want everyone to turn to the second page of the foreword. Leah, it's at the very top of that page. Leah just read that first part.
It's supposed to like say that like they're like discriminating themselves because they don't have that one thing that others have, so they just start to what was it? But yeah, they just start to hate themselves.
Yeah, good. Jeremiah, in a loud voice, can you read from But There Are Some?
But there are some who collapse silently, anonymously, with no words to express or acknowledge it. They are invisible. The death of self-esteem can occur quickly, easily and cheap before their ego has legs to speak.
Okay, pause there. So what do you think she means by that?
Like if you're like at a young, like I think that's maybe like a young age, like kids, like you have like self-esteem or ego to like follow. So whatever people say, like you internalize it to where it like really affects how you are and how you want to be when you grow up.
Good, and really good use of the word internalize. So then she says this. She says, couple the vulnerability of youth, so that sort of means like add on the fact that young people are vulnerable, with indifferent parents, dismissive adults, and a world which in its languages, laws, and images reinforces despair, and the journey to destruction is sealed. Lourdes, what do you think that means?
I think it's meaning that because kids, or like when you're young, in a sense, like you're still really vulnerable and like you want to please people, and because you have your parents, they're like telling you what to do, other random adults telling you what to do, and like the world, like everyone's trying to tell you how you're supposed to be, and all that. It kind of like all the images, and like those people already have set what they think is good and what they think is bad, and so they have you internalize those views, and when you if you follow one of those things people might think is bad, you kind of start thinking as yourself as something bad, and you kind of just keep going downward from there.
Exactly. And I think also what she's trying to say is, like, not every child is in this situation, right? She's particularly talking about the child that has indifferent parents, like who might grow up with parents who don't really care as much, who is the target of, like Lourdes was talking about, all the images in the world, that certain kids might be on the negative side of those images more than others. And so when we saw Dick and Jane, like the kids who don't look like Dick and Jane are on the negative side of those images. Like they're being reinforced with negative ideas about themselves. So, what is Toni Morrison's project for this book, and what was that conversation that prompted her to write this book? Richard, what is her project for the book? Terry, can you hear? Okay, say it louder because it's perfect.
His project was to be able to enter the life of the one least likely to withstand such damaging forces.
To enter the life of the one who is least likely to withstand damaging forces. So like the weakest member, the one who's being affected the most by these damaging forces. And what was that conversation that she had? Chris, what was the conversation that she had that prompted her to do that? Good job, Richard. Okay, Terry?
It was a conversation that she had with her friend in grade school, and like the way that she wanted blue eyes, and how like she was trying to cover it up and be happy for her.
Okay, good. So I want you to turn and talk to the people near you of why was this so upsetting to Toni Morrison? Why might that conversation have prompted her to write a whole book? So go ahead, turn and talk. Tasha and Chris, you can talk. Tyreek and Jeremiah. Jasmine, talk with Janisha and Emma. Go ahead, turn and talk. Why would that have been so shocking for her?
Because she understood what she was trying to say. She was like, because she understood that if she had blue eyes, she was like saying that she wanted to be black. So she
With a friend or Tony?
Tony got mad because her friends on the
There's probably like a central how she didn't like herself too but she had to change just like other people did. And she felt like she like this girl proud no matter like if you change, you're not the same person.
Alright, bring it back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Jonathan, why was it so shocking to Toni Morrison?
Well, I think it's because the fact that her classmate didn't accept herself as a person. Well, she wanted to create this other image of another person, and the narrator finds that shocking because of the fact that she didn't accept herself.
Okay. What kind of person was Toni Morrison talking to? Why would it look so weird for this person to have blue eyes? Tosh?
Oh, it was just her friend.
It was just her friend?
Yeah.
Okay, Emma?
She was African American and it would look like weird. And she was saying like how she would rather look like weird than like accept how she is.
Yeah, Toni Morrison uses the word freak. Like, why would she want to look like a freak instead of looking the way she's supposed to? So this is key. What is she wondering about? I would love to find a quote here. What is Toni Morrison wondering about? First, Jeremiah.
I have a question. Why do you think she used the word freak?
What do you think?
That's why I'm asking you.
Well, what does freak mean in this context?
It's like probably like a negative connotation. It's like supposed to have like bad meaning to it.
Yeah, like during Halloween, if you like, what is someone if you say they look like a freak?
They got like Frankenstein, Jason.
Okay.
Or they dressed up like me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Roberta.
The message, right?
Yeah.
The message was like how she had worked for this book. The message was she wondered about what to learn about the message of the book.
Wait, give me some quotes. What is she wondering about? Look in the forward. Jasmine, loud voice. With, I can't hear.
And 20 years later, I was still wondering about how one learns that who told her, who made her feel that it was better to be a freak than what she was, who had looked at her and found her so wanting, so small away from the beauty still.
Who told her? Like, who told this little girl that she should have blue eyes? That she would look better with blue eyes? You don't have to answer that, but Jeremiah.
No, I don't answer.
Oh, okay,
I don't find
tell us what you
again.
think, that's fine.
I was thinking like a TV show, like just saying like how on commercials you have everybody who looks perfect and like you're the kids are like easier influence. Like you just want to be like them. So.
Jaleel. What were you were gonna answer? Who told her?
Society.
Okay. And lastly, I'm gonna skip this last question, but who is the most delicate member of society according to her? Harry?
Kids.
Kids? Who else? Bianca? Females. So we'll dive into that, this like moving forward this entire unit. Right now we're actually gonna start this read aloud. So I want you to turn to the next page. There's a title page, and then we're gonna turn to the first that starts